Coming up on Guardians of the North.
I think there's a smoke over there.
Hey, Ray, got a fire.
It was reported near the community of Stanley Mission. There's one road in and out of there, and we knew we had to act fast.
The McAfee fire is over 8,000 hectares in size and growing rapidly, threatening the remote community of Stanley Mission.
It was already too big and moving too fast for any amount of aircraft to get it knocked down to the ground.
It was quite obvious this fire was going to be trouble right from the start.
Every summer, we deal with hundreds of wildfires.
The fire, it's like a living thing. It's creating its own weather.
We're protecting livelihoods, communities. We are protecting the North.
So for today, we've got all 4 crews on. Doug's crew, you guys will be on IA then, and with 29. Let's make sure we get loaded up, check your gear, make sure it's ready to go.
So get those.
It's early June, and crews in La Ronge have been responding to the season's first few fires.
It's been a pretty quiet start to the season so far, just nothing but small fires. It's starting to heat up out here. The guys have told me that I haven't seen anything yet and that the big ones are coming.
Winds are going to be northwest 15 to 30, gusting 40, so a windy day. Our humidities are very low. Like they're in the low teens, down closer to 10%, which is very volatile.
Dry conditions can lead to dangerous fires, and bases across the boreal forest are on high alert.
We have our headquarters in Prince Albert. Every morning, there's a provincial briefing.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So this morning at 6 o'clock, we had high pressure over the northern border of the province, as well as to the west, with surface ridging connecting those, and an upper ridge just to the northwest of the province. So we did see some mainly sunny skies into the Buffalo and Narrows region, as well as into Kindersley.
There's fire bases, there's tanker bases, there's pilots, there's admin staff. Everybody's listening in on the morning briefing.
Grassland and East Parkland regions.
They provide us with all kinds of helpful information and give us the resources to do our jobs properly.
24 hours.
Never know when we're gonna get fires, lightning strikes, human caused, doesn't matter what it is. So basically everywhere in the province, you're ready, prepared, because you never know what's gonna happen.
Saskatchewan minus East Boreal, and then there's also lightning strikes.
Good afternoon, Firebase. We learn about fires in many different ways. We have lots of phone calls from the public, south of La Ronge by the Bow River. Down at headquarters in Prince Albert, they have a bank of cameras and they're monitoring all over the north.
We have 53 fire towers with video cameras that are constantly monitoring for smoke and new starts.
Along with the fire towers, detection planes take to the skies daily, scanning the forest for signs of trouble.
I'm Alicia. I'm 20 years old and I'm an aerial observer at the La Ronge Fire Base. And I go on patrols and look for smoke and for forest fires. When we go up, I'm scanning just like along the horizon in quadrants, and about every half hour we will do just like a 360 just to check back and make sure that we haven't missed any fires.
There was a Sisipuk fire that was on the border of Manitoba.
Right over there. I guess there isn't a community super close to that one, but yeah.
There was 6 fires we checked out that day on that side.
That's a lot of fires.
You can see very, very far on a clear day, and it's just all just forest as far as you can see, and there's a bunch of ponds and lakes and rivers all scattered around. It's really incredible.
With the weather heating up, the season's first small fires are about to give way to one of the most dangerous blazes in years.
The guys keep saying that the big ones are coming, and they did.
It was near the end of the patrol, and I was just scanning along the horizon.
I think there's a smoke over there.
And I saw smoke had popped up near Stanley Mission, just south of it. It's a small community, about a couple thousand people.
We're on Firebase, detection 1.
Detection 1 launch.
There appears to be a fire that just started south of Stanley. Has that been called in yet?
Negative, it hasn't.
Okay, we'll go right towards it, check it out, and get back to you with our assessment.
Okay, copy that.
By the time the detection plane gets overhead, the aggressive fire has almost doubled in size.
Correction on the size, it's now 3 hectares and growing rapidly.
Okay, copy that.
As I was assessing it, it grew like 5 times in size within like a couple minutes. It was insane.
Correction again on the size, it's now 5 or 6 hectares.
Okay, copy it all that. Hey, Ray, got a fire.
We didn't have many details other than we knew there was a fire, and it was close to a community.
Hey boys, we got a new start right close to Stanley. Alrighty. We got the coordinates here. It's near town. Let's get rolling. Right on.
Boys, we got a fire. Let's go, let's go.
The big fires the veterans have been warning about have arrived. For rookies like Aiden, it's their first real brush with danger.
Come on.
We geared up, we got our stuff on, we ran out the door, we threw it all in the helicopter.
It was reported near the community of Stanley Mission. There's one road in and out of there, and we knew we had to act fast.
Ready back here, all buckled up, ready to go.
Based on the initial sighting, the fire is burning 70 kilometers northeast of the fire base and just 5 kilometers south of the community of Stanley Mission. For the 2,000 residents living there, the darkening sky is an ominous sight.
Got everybody running out of the office here looking at the big cloud of smoke taking off.
There was a few of us standing outside and just looking at it for a bit.
And everybody was just like, what the heck's going on?
It grew really fast. Like it just took off. Like because it was windy, the conditions were just right, I guess, for the fire just to move really fast, and it came on real suddenly.
Fear spreads in Stanley Mission as the initial attack team hurries to the scene.
It took us about 20 minutes to get close to that fire.
We flew all the way there. You could just getting closer and closer. It was bigger and bigger.
Knowing where the location was, we knew it was going to be trouble because it was close to a community and it was a big column of smoke.
By the looks of things, boys, the fires picked it up.
Flying into that fire, that was probably the scariest thing I've ever done.
I see the smoke is turning black.
You could see the flames as high as the treetops, 100 feet high.
You can see the flames here, so it's really going.
Just roaring or rolling along as it went, and that smoke cloud was just big and thick and black.
It's a pretty wild-looking fire. Wasn't going to get stopped anytime soon.
If that fire gets into the trees, it's going to run. That's exactly what happened.
It was right south of Stanley Mission.
And it looked like a big storm coming. It was smoke.
We have only one way in and also one way out with the highway.
If the only road in and out is compromised by fire, residents of Stanley Mission could be trapped.
It was quite obvious this fire was going to be trouble right from the start.
Hey boys, we got a new start right close to Stanley. It's near town. Let's get rolling. Right on.
We have only one way in and one way out.
It was quite obvious this fire was going to be trouble right from the start.
This fire was class 5 by the time the guys got out to it.
We were looking at it, trying to find a spot to land, but by the way it was moving and the heat of it, it was too hot for anyone to land. Thank God, because I didn't want to go down there.
Matthew in the helicopter, he requested that we get skimmers going immediately. At that point, we contacted the tanker base.
I remember walking to my office window, looking in the direction of Stanley Mission, and could see a substantial black column of smoke rising up.
For rookie Travis, it's the first big fire he'll help attack from the sky.
We grabbed our pilots, got the ATRs as quick as they would come off the printer, and we were out the door and to the plane.
All right,
check that. We'll get overhead, get everything figured out with you, and you'll be good to go then.
With air attack officers coordinating the mission, water bombers will try to put out the blaze before it gets too big.
So we started heading that way, and we could see immediately that this was going to be a difficult fire.
It already looked pretty big and impressive. We could tell that it wasn't one we were going to be able to put out right away.
After assessing the fire, water bombers load up for battle.
We just come down and touch down right on the water. And about 9 seconds later, we're full, and we're picking up 1,200 gallons. We were getting a load on the fire about every 2.5 minutes or so. Just hit it as hard as we could.
While planes attack the fire, word spreads quickly that a remote northern community is under threat.
Sask First Nation Emergency Management. When did this happen?
Based 300 kilometers to the south of Stanley Mission, Saskatchewan First Nations Emergency Management provides First Nations communities with emergency training and support.
Up here.
Hey, thanks, everybody. Just wanted to bring everybody together. Got a call from Jimmy Charles today.
We got a call saying that Stanley Mission, one of the communities that we directly work with, is on alert due to this wildfire that was south of the community.
Was it right along the road, or?
Well, they're worried it could threaten the road.
They were getting worried with the weather conditions and the change in the wind that fire is going to end up in the community.
It's on the south side of the road currently.
Okay.
And the wind is blowing it away from the community. I'll have to look at my forecasts for the next couple of days here.
All it takes during a forest fire is just a change in wind direction. What I really want to do is start getting everybody prepared in case, right? 3 kilometers away from the community, we know, something could happen.
While Michelle's team keeps in close contact with the community, planes from the tanker base lose ground to the fast-growing fire.
It was already too big and moving too fast for any amount of aircraft to get it knocked down to the ground.
It took off on us extremely quickly. There wasn't much a guy can do. We could have had 10 airplanes in the circuit. It would have been hard to control.
We had skimmers in the air, we had land-based fire retardant aircraft in the air, and it was very quickly realized that we were not going to stop this fire. Travis moved into protecting of values, cabins, and the town of Stanley Mission.
Our main priority is human life. You're trying to steer the fire and control it and manage it the best you can.
Within a day, the fire south of Stanley Mission is almost 2,000 hectares in size, or approximately 20 square kilometers.
We already knew we were in a bad situation because the fire traveled 13 to 14 kilometers just during that night.
We kept constant contact with the community. We had radio messages. We put information out based on what we knew about the fire.
This fire just kept going and going and going.
Fears that the blaze might turn toward the community grow with each passing hour.
We could see that the fire was going to threaten that road and likely cross it within a few hours.
The fire picked up and took a run to the west.
And it's compromised the road.
It's compromised the road, and it did move closer to the community. So the health center is getting together their P1 and P2 numbers in the case we have to evacuate. When I was getting a phone call from the community, everybody was scared. Think of it as being on an island. The only support you have is what's in that community at that time.
For Michelle's team, discussion turns to the firefighting equipment the community has on hand. Stanley Mission has a new fire truck, but their volunteer fire department lacks the proper training to use it.
You have contact with somebody with a fire truck?
Yeah.
We had actually supported Stanley Mission and got them a fire truck months before.
We realized that we weren't able to get up there in time to train them on their new truck. And now there's an actual wildfire that's threatening the community.
They decide they need to head north and help the town prepare for a possible street-to-street battle with the blaze.
I was worried for the community. I was worried about my team. Are they even going to make it to the community? Let's go.
Okay.
Hey, Ray, got a fire.
It was reported near the community of Stanley Mission.
We have only one way in and one way out.
This fire just kept going and going and going.
The wildfire burning near the community of Stanley Mission is now almost 4,000 hectares in size.
It became a pretty big operation out there. We had all sorts of aircraft flying, helicopters everywhere.
We had hundreds of personnel working on that fire. It was blowing up at different times throughout the day. There was air support coming 2, 3, 4 times a day to help us out.
We had an air show going on, I guess you could say. You know, we had so many water bombers in the air, helicopters doing the best they can.
A key part of the battle takes place in the hangars, where engineers work long hours to keep the planes safely in the air.
When there's major fires, all our aircraft are on deck, everyone's flying, maintenance is ready to go. The more you fly, the more potential for issues.
Bit of a problem here. The first one, our B-nut's leaking here, hydraulic fluid out of our bomb door actuator, and it's pooling at the bottom. Obviously, you don't want hydraulic fluid leaking.
Almost all the systems on them, including the water bombing system, is hydraulic. So if you have a leak and you lose your pressure, you could not have the ability to open and close your doors as you should.
With a community under threat, every repair is urgent. Losing a single plane from the rotation could have deadly consequences.
Whether you're flying, whether you're fixing, whether you're on the ground, dispatching, loading the aircraft with retardant or water, whatever you're doing, everyone has the common goal of we're protecting people, we're protecting infrastructure, we're protecting lives.
With the wildfire still too large to put out, efforts turn to steering it and creating barriers to protect the town.
One of the strategies to control a fire of that magnitude is to create a fire break, a gap in the fuels, so the fire has no ability to burn. We can do that by putting in cat lines, dozer guards, where we actually remove the trees from the area so it can't be burnt.
You're kind of pretty close to the fire a lot of the time when working with cats. You'll be right in the thick of it. Bombers flying over your head, dropping loads of water on the fire as you're working.
Since a slight change of wind could send the fire racing toward the town, the fire-based team decides to try a riskier tactic called aerial ignition. Aerial ignition involves deliberately lighting a new section of forest on fire, starving the main fire of fuel and creating a barrier of burnt timber.
We use this little ball to fight fire with fire.
They have a machine called an aerial ignition device, an AID machine. It has little spheres like ping pong balls.
Agitator on. Glycol on. Glycol on.
The plastic balls contain a chemical compound called potassium permanganate. When injected with glycol, they ignite in less than a minute.
It drops from a helicopter, and once they hit the ground, they'll ignite.
So they'll start a small fire in front of the main big fire. The big fire will draw the small fire into itself, burning the fuel as it gets sucked in, with the hopes that it will stop that main fire from progressing.
Before setting a new section of forest ablaze, Matthew and Avery carefully plan out a strategic line for the back burn, incorporating natural fire breaks in the topography.
We're gonna use these natural barriers here, like the muskeg here on these lakes.
Matthew and I got together. He had some coordinates of where he would like to get the control line or the mud line put in so we could start doing a burn and save this community.
And what we're gonna do is we're gonna burn off all this green here. So hopefully that's gonna stop it from going over the line.
This is #1 priority, this burn. We want to connect all those things so that we can have one big barrier. I'm just concerned with only having one road in and out of here that people are going to get trapped.
I am concerned about the community and the people. Probably the whole community is my relations.
If the back burn succeeds, it could help save the town from a fire so big it's now creating its own weather.
Get this to the helicopter. Me and Pat got our equipment ready, and we headed out Let's go make some fire.
While the team gets ready to fly, Mitch and Pierce from Saskatchewan First Nations Emergency Management begin the long drive north to Stanley Mission. If they can reach the community safely, they need to train local firefighters on the use of their new fire truck in case the blaze enters the town.
As soon as you get out of PA, you hit the forest. So right across the bridge, all you can see is trees on both sides. The drive up there is long, it's bumpy. You hit LaRange and it starts to be gravel.
It's a chicken trail pretty much all the way up to Stanley Mission.
I wasn't even sure if Mitch and Pierce were going to be able to get into Stanley Mission. It was very scary. And then to receive those calls from leadership, we need this, can you help, can you get up here? It was very stressful.
You're definitely dealing with a big force of nature. Fire creates its own weather systems, and you know, there's only one road. We could be in trouble if something were to go wrong.
Next time on Guardians of the North. Hoping to protect the town, Matthew and Patrick light up a new section of forest just south of Stanley Mission.
You can feel the heat, like you're pouring gas on it.
Grab a middle of it and pull it all off.
Just a few kilometers away, Mitch and Pierce work with the local fire department to put out spot fires spawned by the massive blaze. And when winds turn, sending the fire directly at the community, everyone's worst fears seem to be realized.
Wasn't really slowing down at all. The winds were just making it a beast.
Here we go, right? We're going to lose this community.
I was really scared.